Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the stream. Tom and I thought we'd change it up a little bit today, and as you guys can see, we have our Federal Reserve screen on the bottom, and with the money flying everywhere for Powell. We're set for a big day today with the FOMC meeting. Sometimes days like today, the market doesn't really move at all, but sometimes the market is extremely volatile, and there's a lot of opportunity both to the upside and the downside. So overall, thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. Let us know what stocks you're watching for this morning. Right now, it looks like the SPY is trending up a little bit, which is great to see. Most of the time, what happens on FOMC days is there's just a lot of chop and volatility. But Tom, do you have any top stocks or anything you're watching heading into the market today?
Yeah, with the SPY, I'm really going to watch for it to break out above $425. I think that's going to be a great level. And I'm still watching AMC. Yesterday we saw it kind of moving up above that $60 resistance up to 64. But today it kind of hit the $60 resistance and ended up going to the downside. And I was kind of expecting to see AMC flying up today, but unfortunately at open now, we're seeing a big drop down to $55, $54. So it's not looking good for that so far. But going back to the SPY, it's actually looking pretty good. We saw some green candles initially at open, and we are seeing a little bit of chop right now, but it seemed pretty good, to start the day with the SPY being up in pre-market and everything ahead of Powell talking.
There we go. So we have Jerry saying Amazon is moving. It definitely is, and Amazon has just been, ripping up lately. It looks pretty solid, and that's a pretty big move out of Amazon already this morning. I mean, Tom, look at Amazon over the past, let's say, I don't know, 5 days or so. This thing went from 3,200 all the way up to basically 3,400, which is really big for Amazon.
Yeah, it's had a huge move. I actually really liked Amazon the past week, as well as Facebook and some of those other stocks, but Amazon's been killing it. I like this move. And whenever you look at it on the daily, it's kind of like getting back up to those highs or up to those resistance levels as well, up here around 3,400 to $3,500. Those are definitely some key resistance levels for that. But it seems like Amazon's just having a great week, and hopefully it can keep going because, man, I've been liking seeing that QQQ and the SPY kind of going up. So hopefully the QQQ can continue, its trend today and start to head back to the upside. And who knows, Powell might make it go down later on in the day, but at least for right now, we're seeing the QQQ look like it is ripping up pretty nice, which is really nice, especially with Amazon and a lot of these tech stocks going up. It just seems like a pretty good day overall so far. It could definitely change, but so far we're having a pretty good open.
Tom, I'm really biased towards Zoom, but you got to check it out intraday right now. That's a pretty solid candle, especially for open. It's just kind of ripping up right now. And, Zoom, sometimes it just it goes on these days where it might be up, 4, 5, 6%. And then it might be up 0.5% or down 0.5% or down 1%. But it just goes on these crazy tears, and it just explodes up some days. So either way, Zoom is definitely on my watch list. I know I talked about it a lot over the weekend, and I am definitely biased towards it. And then we have Jerry saying, "You guys watching DraftKings?" Yes, definitely. I mean, this is it's definitely in my top 3 favorite stocks. With the short seller report yesterday, it kind of got smacked down pretty hard, but I'm really happy with the way it recovered. You know what I mean? A lot of times, when those types of reports happen, it could have just as easily just tanked down. So overall, I like it for the long term, and I definitely am watching it.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good for the long term. DraftKings is always going to be solid. I think even if it continues down for the next couple of days, I think we'll be all right in the longer run. And keep in mind, a lot of the stuff that they do that's kind of shady, a lot of that's in the overseas markets. And the US market is still going to continue to grow and grow more every single year. So just keep that in mind that DraftKings has a lot of potential to keep making money in the longer run, even if they're down over the next couple days.
Sounds good. So, guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. Tom and I will cover them. But, Tom, I know that you could say on Monday, tech stocks in general just had so much momentum. Even at points throughout the day, I know that the SPY and the QQQ both had amazing closes on Monday. but really tech is what like really drove the market up. So what are you seeing like with the QQQ right now? I know it's extremely hard to say, especially one with the market at all-time highs, but also two on Powell Day, you could say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly seeing it looking pretty good today. It's pulling back a little bit over the past few minutes, but it was down a lot yesterday. But I think that like heading into Powell's speech, we might see it just kind of go flat to move kind of slightly up. I would expect it to trade between 344 and 342 for the rest of the day, or at least until Powell talks at the end. But definitely look out. I think 344 is going to be a solid resistance up there. So watch out for that. But we are kind of at resistance right now around 343. So just on an intraday level, I would kind of make it pass above that before grabbing calls, but I'd be pretty careful. Like Mike said earlier, the market likes to be really choppy on these type of days, and that doesn't mean that we won't see the market rip up into Powell speaking, but at the same time, just be very careful, because if we start to see like a lot of momentum to the upside, that could change pretty quick and head back down. So just keep that in mind, that today is going to be a little bit strange, but I do like the QQQ as we're starting to move up here. And it looks like those green candles are coming back up to retest those high of days.
Alrighty, so we have Sean saying, I have this Friday's expiration Bank of America $40.50 put options. He's up 35%. Should I sell pre FOMC or post? So, that's the $1 million question, it's so hard to say, because, who knows, one, what Powell will say, but also two, how the market will interpret that, data, you can say. So, that's definitely the $1 million question. But if you're up 35%, those are definitely some nice gains, and it never hurts to, lock in profits.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's a big thing, is that it doesn't hurt. And we're sitting right around that like 41 support. So it might hold that for the rest of today. Nobody knows. But, banks have been going down into this speech with Powell today. And I'm pretty worried to see like what'll end up happening whenever Powell talks. Like, is he going to just keep the interest rates the same and banks start flying up, or is he going to change the interest rates and banks go down, or vice versa? I mean, anything can happen here. And banks seem like that they're going to be affected more than almost anything else in the market. Banks are, I know the dollar is going to get affected pretty largely as well, and some bonds, but it seems like that overall, Bank of America and a lot of these banks have just been moving very strangely to the downside, I will say, like with the SPY and the overall market kind of holding up there. But like we said, tech has been kind of the king of the market, propping it up lately. But at the same time, though, banks have had a great year, and it's just very strange to see them going down with this inflation news coming out. But who knows? Maybe after Powell talks, they'll start to rip back up.
True that. Tom, did you see Roblox this morning?
No, I haven't. RBLX. Let's check it out. And oh my gosh, it gapped down. Whenever you just said that, Mike, I was expecting to see it up here around $100, but no, it gapped down to 80. Yeah, that's not a good thing to see, but this is kind of around support. But man, that's pretty bad pullback there.
Tom, it didn't just gap down, it's tanking. It's down 11% this morning, and it's going lower like every minute. So I did not do a complete deep dive into their May metrics, but they just released some of their data for May, and out of that data, it shows that their daily active users were down around 1%, looks like, from April. So, that doesn't seem bad. You know what I mean? Only like a 1% decrease, you can say. But, we all know the market's pretty crazy sometimes, and I'm sure that there's some other, metrics that are playing into this fall. But either way, it's definitely not a good sign. If you like Roblox, you can actually get some really nice premiums if you were to sell puts on them. So just for example, let's say we go to like the Roblox options chain, and let's say you did like the July 16th. Like if you sold the like 70 strike put, you can get paid over 200 right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good actually, all the way down at 70. And I think that'd be a good place to buy, with the low being around 60. So that's honestly a pretty good level. But yeah, going forward, Roblox just is definitely a crazy stock to me. I thought it was a little overvalued whenever it was getting up towards $100 a share, but that's just my opinion. But at the same time, it's just crazy to see a big like gap down, or huge like pullbacks like this, especially after we had all that momentum on Roblox. But who knows, people might be taking profits or something. But that's definitely crazy to hear that just a 1% drop would cause this type of movement, though.
Alrighty, so then we have Jay saying thoughts on Moderna. So let's check it out. mRNA, they're not looking bad, to be honest. I think they're a little bit overbought right now. So they're not my favorite for like any bullish movement right now. That's just my opinion. I just think they're a little bit overextended.
Yeah, I would almost look at it for puts, maybe honestly. And whenever we look at like these vaccine stocks going forward and stuff like that, yeah, they're making a lot of money right now, but in the future, will they be? And I know that they probably will be, but we'll just have to see like how this ends up playing out. And they had some good earnings the last time they reported, and it seems like ever since that earnings report, they just went straight up. So man, I think that Moderna looks like it could be pretty good for the longer run. But I'm with you. I mean, it's definitely overbought right now. And I would honestly expect it to come back down to maybe at like 175 support, or at least maybe this double top somewhere around like 190.
Alrighty, and then we have Corbin saying, "Good morning, guys. I have a question for Tom. Are you still in on Twitter? How did you play it and why?" So this is a premium play, so keep in mind, Corbin, we can't give out all of the details on the stream. But Tom, can you give some like levels for Corbin, and then maybe like a quick little update on the Twitter situation?
Yeah, for sure. And whenever we're looking at Twitter here, I was initially getting in based off of a longer term trend line, and then also the gap that happened. So we were kind of looking for a gap fill. And I think we entered somewhere down here, like around like 57.75. I could look exactly, but it did end up running up from wherever we entered. And I ended up exiting the first position up quite a bit, or the first half of the position, I should say. So now I'm just kind of holding, and we're still in the profit. So that's a good thing. And even if we go into the loss a little bit, I cut the first half, at a pretty good profit. So it's kind of holding up the gains right now. And if Powell talks later today and tech starts to rip up, Twitter will just fill this gap and maybe come up to, $65, and we'll see a pretty good move. But we'll just have to see what happens later today. I think that that's going to be the main deciding factor here.
Good stuff. And then we have Varun saying, "Morning. What do you guys think about ARKK for the short term?" So I'm glad you brought this one up, because this one, it definitely has like a ton of potential, but it all depends on how tech moves. You know what I mean? Like if we continue to like see tech explode back up, and like a lot of these growth stocks are still relatively cheap, you can say. Either way, I think ARKK has a ton of potential, but I wouldn't make any moves until after the FOMC. I mean, if you want to get in before, you definitely can, and always trust your gut. It's just that's a little bit too risky for me, but I really like it as long as everything goes smooth with the FOMC and we continue to see just like positive momentum with tech.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is like these growth stocks, these tech stocks, as long as they can all keep flying up, then we'll see ARKK doing great. And the ARKK looks very similar to like an N phase chart or like a Palantir chart, almost how like it's just been flying up off the support. I really like it. It's actually quite a ways from the high. If you were going to get shares right now, I think that's the smartest way to go, is to just average into shares or get long-term leaps. But just keep in mind that in the shorter term, anything could happen. So I would definitely, get time if you were bullish on it right now.
Alrighty, and then let's see. Then we have Kay saying, "Looks like a short-term reversal in LVS, but I'm longing it. What are your thoughts?" So Tom, let's check out LVS. How's it looking?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's coming down to support, and it's had a couple of green days now. It's not looking too good, though. Seems like it's just going down to somewhere around that support, but I see a support down here around like 53.50, some maybe $54. So just be careful. We're getting really close to that. We might start to see a recovery back to the upside. I think that like for shares, this is going to be a pretty good thing to pick up. But for options, it seems like that at least in the shorter term, it could do anything. So just keep in mind, it could be a pretty scary play, but I do like it off the support, and hopefully like it can start to go up, because I think that like on a max like daily chart, you can kind of see how like undervalued it is right now compared to like the highs before COVID and a couple of years before then. As long as the market starts to pick back up and travel gets back to the way it was, I think LVS will do pretty good over the next few years.
All right, so now we have Jerry and Kathy saying DraftKings is popping, and then Kathy is asking for the next support. I mean, Tom, look at DraftKings intraday. I think it's awesome with the way it's moving. And I think DraftKings is basically saying, screw you to the Hindenburg report because, like they're almost about to make back all of the losses from it. You know what I mean? So I think that's awesome. And I think that just shows that the market doesn't really care about that report. But, we'll see what happens. But Tom, so some next resistance levels for DraftKings. I have a really big one at $50 a share. It's also like a psychological resistance level. And then after that, I have another resistance at 51. Do you see anything extra or like anything I'm missing or anything like that?
Yeah, that one at 50, you hit it right on the head. That's definitely going to be a big one for today. And we're actually like right around it. So as we're starting to move up, definitely look out for that. The 1,000 SMA is also right around that 50 level. So that could just, poses like a double threat there. So just keep in mind, like as we're moving up, we're coming up into some resistance. It might take a little bit while to break that today, but honestly, DraftKings looks like it's pretty strong. Had a pretty strong like extension down and moved to the upside so far at open. I like it. As we start to move up though, like you said, 51 would be the next. And then above that, I see the next one being somewhere up around 54. So just look out, as we start to move up today, we're definitely going to hit some resistance, but hopefully we can keep breaking it. And we're sitting right on 50 right now as we talk. And it looks like it's breaking that to the upside. So hopefully it can keep going here.
All right, so Tom, we have 4 stocks to analyze for Vicky. We have Airbnb, Roku, CRM, and then Now. So let's start with Airbnb. It has a lot of potential, but it doesn't like to move. You know what I mean? Like it tries to run up, and then like every time it like breaks out, it just gets rejected. So, what are some quick levels or a quick thought on Airbnb?
Yeah, with a quick thought, I would say that Airbnb has a pretty solid resistance up here around like 155. You could say maybe around like 154. So look out for that as it's like going up. I would say it's just a little bit of consolidation. I think that as we start to move forward, we're going to see maybe some more green candles like over the next couple of weeks, depending on like what Powell says and everything. But we'll just have to see. Today's definitely going to be choppy with Powell talking later. So I'm not like too upset to see this down just a little bit today. I think if it holds like somewhere around like 149 to 150, it'll be still a pretty good option over the next like week or two.
All right, and then with the next one, Roku, it looks like it's bouncing off that 340 support. It looks pretty good for a dip buy, in my opinion. So yeah, I think it has potential for a dip buy. And then with the next one, we have CRM. It's a pretty similar setup to Roku. What's like the next major resistance on this one?
Yeah, I mean CRM looks pretty solid. I think that there's a pretty good resistance up around like 247 to 250 on CRM. So we're getting kind of close to that, but it does look pretty good actually. I like this one more than some of the other ones. What was the second one, Mike?
Roku.
Roku, yeah, Roku looks pretty good as well. Like you said, I think that dip buy seemed like it could be pretty decent on the daily on Roku. There's a pretty big resistance up around 368.
All right, and then with the last one, it's Now, N-O-W. So it looks like it's in the middle of its range, which isn't a bad thing at all. It has support at 460 and then resistance at 560. And like I said, we are pretty close to the middle of that range. I can definitely see it popping up.
Yeah, I could too. It honestly doesn't seem bad, and it's starting to move up through these resistances and these SMAs. So it looks pretty good. And intraday today on the 1 minute, it's definitely running up at 519.30 already. So we'll just have to see how this one can keep moving. And honestly, I've never even heard of this one, Mike. Service Now. Have you heard of it?
I have, but like it's definitely not some like the most popular. It's not like an everyday type of stock.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty decent mover though. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think it could definitely keep popping here.
Alrighty, and then let's see. Then we have with the next question we have Matthew asking about the Nasdaq QQQ. It looks like it's rallying, and then Tom, look at this is pretty interesting. So look at QQQ intraday. We have that popping up, but then look at the SPY intraday. That's kind of selling off a little bit. It shows tech is popping up, and that's good in my opinion for obviously tech stocks, but like an ETF like ARKK. You know what I mean? Like it's still trending up. It's not exploding just yet, but it's good to see tech like shifting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And tech has been kind of like honestly, it's been a little bit down over the past like few months. Like if we go look at like some max daily charts here, like look at ARKK, it's just been beaten down. Yeah, sure, it's been going up for like the past few weeks to the past month, but you can tell it's still a long way from the highs. And even looking at some of the big ones like Apple, they've just been like very flat, like consolidating for the past month. Microsoft has done a little bit better, but still they were kind of consolidating for a while before the past week as well. And it's just crazy. We're seeing all these stocks, even like AMD is just kind of not going anywhere yet. But it looks like it's trying to, break out above that finally. But we're just seeing a lot of tech stocks just kind of going flat here over the past few months. And I don't know if that's to do like with the chip shortages or what's been going on, but hopefully like for the future, these tech stocks can start to really pop. And I like how you said that with QQQ, how it's really like outperforming the rest of the market. Because I think that goes to show that like, even if Powell says some bad stuff, and the market ends up going down, sure, it might hurt tech stocks a little bit, but I think that shows that there's still going to be a lot of strength there, especially like with the rest of the market kind of selling off today and tech is still rising.
Alrighty, and then with the next comment, we have Whitney saying Roblox has music lawsuits, a lot of them. So, you know what? Great point, Whitney. I think I actually heard you bring that up before, but I'm glad you brought it up because, it just goes to show you, like, when we look at Roblox chart, especially, like, over the past month or so. Tom, remember when we would, like, look at Roblox and, like, every day it would, like, break its all-time high and, like, we first started watching it at, like, 70, I don't know, like 78, and like 78, 79, and then it went all the way up to like 85, then 90, then 95, then 100, and then 103. I think it just goes to show you, like, when you see like that explosive movement, you don't have to chase. Like, a lot of times you will see like a nice size pullback. So, good stuff over there. And Roblox is kind of popping up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, not to the level of like DraftKings, how it did yesterday, but it's definitely showing some potential.
Yeah, it's trying to run back up a little bit, and who knows, a lot of people might see it down here at like $80 and think that it's really undervalued, and we might see a lot of buyers come in. So we'll just have to see what happens with it. But overall, it does look like a pretty good setup today. It's actually hitting like right off the 100 SMA twice, so hopefully we can break out above that.
All right, and then we have Jay saying thoughts on Square for a day trade. Let's check it out. SQ daily looks all right. Intraday it looks good as long as it can hold that 226 support. Yeah, as long as it holds that 226 support. And right now we have the QQQ popping, which is great for Square. As long as this momentum like just continues, I like it to the upside.
Yeah, me too. And there is a couple of red candles, but keep in mind that we're always going to see, movement throughout the day. So it's not too worrisome to see that yet. But as long as it holds 226, like Mike said, it should be pretty good for the rest of today. That seems like the definitely the support to be watching, but it's definitely a little bit flat. I think that whenever you're looking at some stocks like the QQQ, this one just seems like it's not moving up quite as much, but we'll just have to see like how it can continue to move and hopefully it can break out above those like daily highs. Cause I think that would be a pretty good level too. If it could start to break out above like 228.50, we might see a pretty decent like move out of Square because the daily honestly looks really good on Square if it could start to break out.
Sounds good. So then we have K saying ARVL, CMG, and then shop. All right, ARVL. It's definitely not a play for me. It doesn't mean it's bad, but this one's a little risky. Like, the IV just shot up from like, what is that, 73% all the way up to 109%, which is absolutely crazy. And then intraday, I don't know what type of pattern's going on. Like, it had an amazing run up this morning, but it's really selling off.
Yeah, this is honestly a pretty crazy stock. I don't know what to say about it either. Definitely a crazy mover, and I'm just gonna not play it. It seems like a pretty risky one. You could get in for possibly like a quick day trade or like a quick pullback to the upside if it bounces off of like $20 or something. But who knows? This is such a crazy mover that you have no idea like really what's gonna go on with it.
All right, and then CMG, which is Chipotle. Let's check it out. I haven't looked at this one in so long. I mean, it is a value stock. Like, it's not gonna make you rich. The IV is 24%. In my opinion, it's not a bad time to like maybe grab some shares. But besides that, their options they're not really liquid. So yeah, I mean they're not liquid at all, I should say. So if anything, just maybe like a long-term share investment.
Yeah, and hopefully there's no more, E. coli there because that
Yeah.
for a while that was pretty scary.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then Shop, let's check it out. Shop is up around 2%. I know this one's exploding. Kay has been talking about this one like for a while now, and I'm glad it's paying off for him because he was pretty early with it.
Yeah, on Shopify, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge move, actually. I know we've been talking about this one the past few days with Kay, but this is a pretty big move. I really like it actually off this 100 SMA, off that support. Looks like it's honestly going to fly up through that high of yesterday and just continue its ascent to the upside. Looks like a very nice stock. And like I said, it's holding that 100 SMA so well that, like, on a technical level, this honestly looks like a very nice stock. But it seems like that every time we see a nice stock like Shopify, of course, the options cost like, $5,000 at the money. So, take that for whatever you guys, want. At number one, it's probably a better priced option since it's more expensive, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot more risky.
Indeed. And then let's check out, I know this is no one asked this question, Tom, but let's check out Apple and Microsoft, specifically Apple. Like, I know you mentioned earlier in the stream that Apple has been doing nothing for like the past couple weeks or past couple months, but I'm looking at Apple right now and it looks like really solid to me actually. Like on this daily and like especially if like the FOMC goes smoothly, I think Apple has a ton of potential to pop back up.
Yeah, and this actually looks like a pretty good breakout play, like right now, to be honest. It's moving right above that high of yesterday, holding that like 130-ish support. And it's honestly moving off the technicals very well, just like we're seeing a lot of these tech stocks doing today. And it just looks fantastic. No wonder the SPY is flying up today with a lot of these stocks really starting to pop. But man, I really like the movement out of Apple, and I think it could definitely continue up for almost for like the rest of today, like almost like we saw a couple of days ago at open. Apple is flying up and just slowly, stair stepped up for the rest of the day. I would not be surprised if that happened, until Powell started speaking later. But I think it could definitely be a choppy day. But right now, tech is definitely running up and Apple's breaking through a pretty solid resistance. So hopefully we can start to see a pretty good move because it's definitely a solid stock.
We have Hunter saying C is getting clapped. Look at these bank stocks, man. Like
Oh
especially
my
C. Like,
gosh.
geez, this is crazy.
Yeah, this is honestly crazy, Mike. This is really crazy, actually. I cannot believe that C is having this type of downwards movement. Let's go check out like JP Morgan. Wow. I mean, I don't know what's going on. These banks must not be liking inflation or something right now. I don't know what's going on, but maybe they're upset because he's kind of expected to keep the interest rates the same. Maybe they want the interest rates to go up. So I don't know, but at the same time, I mean, man, this is just crazy to see. To me, this is going to have me really watching bank stocks later today because I think that there could be a pretty big move out of bank stocks, and I think it will affect the overall market. But like we're seeing today, QQQ is doing fine, but the SPY and the Dow Jones isn't doing the best right now. They're down very slightly, but it just seems like these bank stocks are pretty overextended though on a daily level, Mike. I mean, Bank of America.
Oh, you there, Tom? I think I lost connection to you. Can you hear me? Guys, let us know if you guys are experiencing interruptions with the stream. It looks like Tom's having a small technical difficulty. Let's see. Let me know in the chat what you guys are seeing with the stream. But yeah, I mean, bank stocks are getting really, it's really crazy how bad they're selling off. I'm actually looking at selling some puts on C. I'm looking at the options chain right now. Let's see. Oh, Tom just vanished. Uh-oh. Oops. Alrighty. Alright, let me alright, guys, give me 1 second to resolve this difficulty. 1 second, please. All right, we are back. Tom, I think the banks heard you talking bad about them and they took you off.
Yeah, I think they did, man. What's going on with that? I mean, the banks they had to have heard something. That was that was crazy. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, the internet just cut out. So yeah, but going back into the banks, not looking good today. Definitely going to be watching them later on. Whenever Powell starts his speech, because I think that with them going down, it's just I don't know why, but it's showing that they're not liking something with this type of market. So we're going to have to see if it's the interest rates or what it is, but I've been seeing like the CEOs of some of these banks coming out saying that they think inflation's staying around longer and stuff like that. So who knows? Maybe they're just bracing themselves for impact. I have no idea.
Yeah, alrighty, I'm just we're talking about your internet in the chat real quick. But yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, you're good. but
yeah,
but
bank.
yeah, I mean, this is just I'm still waiting, for that FOMC meeting later on today around 2 p.m. Eastern time for anyone who didn't know yet. They'll be talking later on and specifically Powell at that press conference, but definitely going to be pretty crazy. And I also see some news today that General Motors ups its spending on electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles by 30% to $35 billion by 2025 on higher profits that they're currently getting. So that's pretty crazy to hear that they're going to up their spending by 30%. It seems like GM's trying to keep up with Ford.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm looking back at these questions. So we have a lot of them. Let's see. With the next comment we have A saying thoughts on UWMC. Let's check it out. UWMC is not really doing anything. It's definitely not a play for me at these levels. Like I just don't love the setup.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not my favorite in the world, but at the same time, today, like with the overall market, we're just gonna have to see like how that ends up moving it. Cause I think that, looking at later on today, at least we'll just have to see like how the overall market affects, all these other stocks, of course, because whenever Powell talks, it could really send the market into a frenzy. So just be careful of that.
All right, and then we have R saying starting to worry about PLBY. PLBY, yeah, it's just kind of consolidating. Honestly, it's not looking the best right now. How it is breaking support right at like $40 or so. It's not the best sign. It's okay. It's like it's definitely not one of my favorite setups. I really like Zoom. I'm very biased towards them, but they're doing pretty well today, and I'm happy about that. But they're just like not an amazing setup. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's bad by any means. It's just like, do I want to risk this play given the market conditions? And for me, that's no. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just it's not like an amazing setup.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. It doesn't look the best. I think it could actually continue lower actually over the next few months, and that's just my opinion. But it could easily start to rip back up. But I could honestly see it continue to go down. It's up quite a bit from those lows, and everyone's saying the short report on Tom's internet. Hey, get CHTR guys if you guys want to go check out the stock. Who knows? Maybe it's going to start going down
Uh oh.
over the next couple days. Who knows? But this is my internet company, CHTR. So so
All right.
definitely look into it.
All righty. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, then we have Gabriel saying thoughts on CCIV. Let's check it out. CCIV is it's kind of pulling back a little bit over like the past week. It is making a higher low, which is good. I like it. It is a risky play. I do like it. Shares honestly would probably be the best way to go unless you can get like a really good quality option. But to do that, you'll probably have to go like relatively deep in the money, and you're gonna want at least probably like 8 months worth of time.
Yeah, I would say so as well. Always get that time, especially with CCIV. And, with it going down the past few days, you might be able to get like some leaps or something like that pretty cheap, honestly. So definitely look into it if you like them for the long run. But keep in mind that they're definitely not the most established EV stock yet. So just be a little careful with it. Definitely don't go all in or anything on it.
Alrighty, and then let's see. We have Roberto saying, "Good morning, guys. Thoughts on TTCF? It did a nasty run up to $24 yesterday." Let's see, TTCF. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's not the best how like yesterday, like it had that run up, which was awesome, but it gave back basically all of its gains.
Yeah,
It's
it did. I mean, that was not a good sign to see at all. And it's definitely like right in the middle of that range now. So I'm just going to be more of neutral on it. I think, Mike, it definitely, that was definitely some crazy movement yesterday. It could have made for like a decent day trade or something like that. But right now, it kind of seems like it's going to try to break back up, but we'll just have to see what happens. I'd say on like an intraday level, if you can make it break above 22.30, you might be able to get a pretty good move.
Sounds good. And then we have Jay saying thoughts on Square. So yeah, Square. I know we covered it a little bit. I like it as long as tech continues to run up and as long as it holds support right at 226. Shelby's asking about CLNE. They have a $10 call for 917. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not the best, but it is pretty far out. So that's a good sign that there is a lot of time on it. As long as it can hold these supports, especially the one right here around $10, I think we might start to see it move back to the upside. But it's all gonna depend on if it can hold here or not. And it just doesn't seem like it's the best play, over the next like few months. I think that there could be a lot better opportunities like with DraftKings, Palantir, Zoom possibly, and some of those other ones.
Alrighty, and then Tom, we have like CRWD breaking out today. CrowdStrike, they're doing pretty well. They're getting really close to that 240 resistance. You can say they have good momentum. Looks like some nice volumes coming in too.
Yeah, look at that solid move actually off of the resistance I had posted at that like triple top right there. That's actually really good movement. I love the breakout on this. This is honestly a really good setup, guys. If you guys are looking at anything today, I think CRWT looks pretty hot. It is getting a little overextended intraday, but it's only up like 3%. We've seen this stock really rip up on some of these days. So who knows? I think it could start to keep going up for the rest of the day, especially with it starting to break out here above 235. And man, it's moved so well above that resistance level that it seems like a pretty solid setup actually.
All right, we have Adam saying, "Hi guys, is Airbnb still a play?" I mean, it could be. Like it's not bad at all. It just struggles to break out. Like it's holding its ground. It has good volume coming in. It has good momentum, but like I don't know what it is. Like it really has a really hard time of breaking out. Like specifically, like originally it was at 150, but now the next major resistance is until like you can see like 153.75 to like 154.
Yeah, I would say that as well. And whenever you're just looking at it going up today, just be a little careful because, like Mike said, there's definitely a lot of like up and down movement with it. Today it opened, it ran up, it shot back down, and then it's trying to run up again now. So it's definitely a volatile stock. And you can look at it over the past few days. Like initially it opened, it'll go down, and then maybe like later on in the day start to shoot up. But initially it opened, it has a lot of volatility usually, and usually ends up going down, even if it goes up later in the day. Yesterday was kind of like an exception. We saw it really, fly up and then double top at open. But besides yesterday, where it started to really break out, it's just been kind of like you said, just very like flat at open, kind of like we saw today.
All right, and then we have KK saying apps, please. APPS. It has support at like 60, resistance at like around 75, you can say. It looks like a nice, like relatively slow and steady stock, like over the past year or so. The max weekly looks a little bit overextended to the upside, in my opinion. I think it looks good, but it's not my favorite. I really wouldn't be surprised if it, retested that support at like you can say like 50, you can say like 53, like or even like 50 to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to depend on like what happens with like all the growth stocks and stuff going on because it seems like it kind of moves up with those. It moved off that bottom support. Like I almost call this day on May 11th Palantir Day. I don't know what happened, but PLTR reported earnings on May 11th, and whenever they did, it seems like every single growth stock had a huge rise up that day. And I don't know what happened with Palantir and those earnings or with Kathy Wood buying in or what ended up happening, but there was a ton of volume on just about every single growth stock, even Zoom, May 11th. Everybody can go back and look at it on the chart. May 11th was huge for some reason. And it seems like every stock that posted a huge green candle on May 11th seems like it's all moving like in the same direction with each other. And I think as long as we keep seeing these stocks break out, it will look pretty decent. But we're just gonna have to see continued movement up out of like Zoom, Palantir, and some of those bigger ones. I think to kind of bring up some of these smaller stocks, kind of like apps.
Tom, check out Zoom. You know, it's my favorite stock. Check it out intraday. I like the way it's moving. Check it out. It's getting close to breaking out. You know, like let me check it real quick. So like on the 5 minute chart, you know, it had like a high of day around 366.83 and it pulled back a little bit. Actually, it pulled back like a good amount all the way down to like 362 and now it's coming right back up and I think it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, it is. It's a great sign. It's coming up, and there is that high up there around like 369.50 to 370. Looks like it's going to try to go up and touch that, or at least break it today. So definitely looks like a solid setup, especially heading into Powell talking. It just looks like that a lot of these tech stocks are just poised to kind of like break up through these resistances. So hopefully Powell can kind of say some positive stuff here, because these setups are looking pretty nice, out of a lot of these growth stocks, especially like Zoom, and some of I think that Zoom, for example, is one of the better stocks fundamentally, that's like in the growth stock category. Like, of course we have like Palantir and some of the others, but you can kind of see how like Zoom over the past 3 days has like outperformed a lot of these other ones. And it's really starting to push up through these resistances.
Alrighty, so then we have A saying, look at FAZ for a bank play. So this looks like a bear financials ETF, you can say. So when banks fall, this thing rises. And yeah, I mean it's been popping pretty well over the past week or so, which is good with how banks are falling. But yeah, I'm just curious to see like what Powell has to say and how that's gonna affect bank stocks. Like I'll be honest with you, like I don't think anyone was expecting to see this type of movement out of bank stocks, you know?
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I don't know why they're moving like this. The overall market's moving pretty nice. It has to be interest rates or something like that going on. And whenever we look at this, because everybody was saying that inflation was going to help the banks, but now everybody's saying that inflation's not going to really stick around for too long. So maybe that's why the banks are going down. Maybe they were kind of like expecting some inflation, but they're not going to see it for as long, or who knows, we'll have to see what he ends up saying. But definitely a weird thing to see today. And it's definitely going to be very interesting. And I'll definitely be talking about it a lot in the Discord, as we go on today and as we go into tomorrow, because it's definitely been a crazy thing to see how these things just keep ripping to the downside. And Mike, I don't know, like what's your opinion on them? Like, do you think it's just has to be something with the fundamentals here, or do you think it's just like just a pullback just based on like how much it's went up the past year?
I like my initial thoughts were it was just like overextended, and like they're just like the some of the shareholders were taking profits and like the stocks are just naturally pulling back. But and that now that I think about what we have this week with the FOMC and then like even just inflation data and just like in general, I know bank stocks had some very high expectations, and I know this is a little far fetched, but like like who knows? Like I know there's a lot of shady things that go around in the market. Like who knows if some of like the largest holders of these bank stocks, if they know that Powell is going to say something that is really bad for bank stocks, they can be selling out beforehand. You know what I mean? I know it's far fetched, but I really wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because they're like the leaders in the financial market. So you would think that they would have some type of idea of what's going on.
Yeah, so like I know it is far fetched, but I've seen crazier things happen in the market.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've seen stuff like how Elon Musk tweets that Tesla stock price is too high whenever someone bought $25 million worth of puts the day before.
Oh
So
my
yeah, we've
gosh,
definitely seen some crazy stuff.
I cannot believe that.
Yeah,
Like
I remember you posted that yesterday in the Discord, and it
yeah.
was hilarious. But yeah, I can't believe it. And it was so like blatantly obvious, it seemed like, but I don't know, it seemed like no one ended up getting in trouble over it, but it seem pretty obvious.
Like yes, extremely. Like either that was the craziest coincidence ever, or that just like blatant like market manipulation.
Yeah, I
But
mean, who knows? Maybe Elon, maybe he saw the unusual option activity and he
yeah,
just wanted to help the guy out. Like, who knows? Like, I have no idea, but that's definitely a weird scenario.
for sure. Then we have Click saying thoughts on SNDL. Marijuana stocks have not been doing good. I've really been watching them, and they tried to run up like you could say like 2 to 3 weeks ago, but they're just kind of selling off, which is pretty unfortunate. I mean, I'm watching them. I want them to rise, but they're just not doing anything. The momentum is not there right now. They're extremely volatile for SNDL. The next major support is like 70 cents, and then next major resistance is $1.
Yeah, and I think that the real way to maybe play these is just to number one, sell some puts on them, like maybe SNDL, CGC, CRON, maybe something like that. I think that would be the way to go. Or just to grab like shares or like really long-term leaps for the longer run. I think that those could be just the smartest ways to go. But I think shares would be the best way just because like you obviously won't get hurt with time at all. And usually these things, like when they do pop, they pop pretty significantly. So you can make quite a bit with shares as well. Obviously, not as much as options if you can time it right, but you might have to hold these for quite a while. I don't know, how long it's going to take for them to finally start to rip up, but I know everybody was kind of expecting the Biden administration to be bullish on marijuana, and then Biden ended up firing, all of his staffers who had previously done marijuana. So it definitely wasn't looking good for it. And that's why it ended up, kind of like running down in the middle of like, or at the end of February, I should say, because they initially ran up and then just got killed off of that news.
Alrighty, so we still have Apple rallying, and then we have Power saying CHTR is killing it over the last few years. Yeah, I mean, CHTR is killing it, but I don't know what's going on with Tom's internet. You know what I mean, Tom? I mean, seems like the stock's doing good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Maybe it's just my area where I live. I'm not like necessarily in the city, about like 45 minutes to an hour out. So maybe that's the reason. I have no idea, but I guess everyone's cuts out every once in a while. The good news is it was only like a very quick interruption. It wasn't sometimes, it goes out for like an hour or two. So good thing it wasn't that type of thing going on, but really it has moved up well over the nice few years, and CHTR has really done well, which is nice to see. And by me, this is actually the best internet company you can get. So I have the best one at least, but it seems like it's not very reliable. So we'll have to see how it ends up working. But the stock itself is pretty good.
Alrighty, and then let's see. We have Jorge saying DDOG is also going up like CrowdStrike. There we go. So DDOG, let's check it out. Yeah, it looks really good actually. I'm glad you pointed it out. It looks really good. I'm trying to see like any next levels. Like I think that recovery from $70 all the way up to 100 right now is amazing. Looks like there is a little bit of resistance at 110, and then you could say even like 18 or so.
Yeah, and I think 100 itself might be a pretty good one. Today intraday, I'd be hard pressed to say that we move above $100 until Powell talks, but we'll have to see how the movement goes. We're getting closer and closer as we speak, but yeah, I think $100 then 110 are going to be the next resistances.
Okay, and then let's see. We have Muscle saying, "Good morning, guys. I'm liking the premier tech stocks again, such as AMD and Nvidia. As you know, I am long. Also holding AMC as part of the movement. Enjoy your channel daily." Thank you so much for that. How's AMD doing?
Yeah, it's doing great. It's popping up with these tech stocks. It's moving well off of that support down there around $80.50. I've been watching this one for the past few weeks, and whenever we look at it on the daily chart, you can see how it's just been consolidating right between $80 and like $83. And it's just been a very flat stock for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the past like 13 to 14 days. And it's just sitting right on this 100 SMA. Also, it's really failing to break out of that SMA. It's even like not going up to the highs previous because of it. And I would say like once it starts to finally move up out of this, we're going to see a pretty good move out of AMD, or at least for like a couple of days. So really watch out. I think once we break out above like $82 to $83, we might see a pretty good run, maybe up to like $90 or something like that, back up to that solid resistance. But it's just been so flat the past like couple of weeks, but I really like it. I think it's kind of coiling up, just waiting for a move. So definitely have your eyes on it. I think that like if Powell is positive for the market, this one could be a really nice pickup.
Okay, and then we have Betty saying TRCH go. The squeeze did not even start yet. Wow, I didn't even look at this one, Tom. This one's
Yeah, it's
popping.
still going up, Mike. Has a lot of momentum intraday, and it finally it's back up around those daily highs also. So we'll have to see how it can move over the next few minutes. I know that you brought this up before market open or like right as the market open, but that's a very nice move out of this.
For sure. Let's see. Vicky saying NIO, please. Let's check it out. NIO, it is doing okay. It's down a little bit today, but I like it for the long term. For the short term, I'm just neutral on it. I don't love it for puts or calls.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, it kind of pulled back hard the past couple of days. With tech going up today, it looks like it is moving back to the upside a little bit, but it's having some trouble breaking out. I would say make it break up through like the $45 resistance.
Alrighty, and then we have Jerry saying, would you sell puts on Oracle at the moment? I was really watching it, and I'm really considering it. The only thing is, I'm just gonna wait until after the FOMC. Just from like a risk standpoint. You know what I mean? Like in the worst case scenario, let's say, for this specific like selling puts scenario, is the market explodes up and I lose out on a couple dollars per contract per put. So I'm not really, like it's definitely on my radar, Jerry. But as of right now, I'm just gonna at least hold off till the FOMC. But more realistically, I'm gonna see if it could fall a little more, and I'll probably put like a high limit sell order in. So just to give you an example, let's say I went out to like the June 25th expiration, and let's say I wanted to sell the 72 strike puts. Like right now they're at like 20. I might put in like a limit sell for like 40 or 45. And if I get filled, awesome. If I don't, oh well.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. It's always better to get those higher fills and just be a little bit safer, especially like with the FOMC meeting going on, like you said. And whenever you look at Oracle, it's honestly up a lot the past year. And even though it's fallen, a lot down to 76, it looks like it could definitely go lower. There's a pretty solid support down here around, 75. And then below that, down towards like $70. So there's definitely some more room for it to keep going, I think. And with the gap down yesterday, it could definitely continue for like the next couple of days. So I think that's pretty smart, Mike.
All right, trying to see. We have Kay saying, what do you guys think of IRBT? Let's see. IRBT it's not bad,
Wow.
Yeah, it's really not bad. I like its current levels actually. It looks like it's like towards the like lower end of its range. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'm actually really bullish on this stock. I've loved it for like the past couple of years. I was trying to, I was buying it up down here at the lows, but I let go of it way too fast. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good stock for the longer term. These guys make the Roomba and those like vacuum cleaners that like auto go around your house. But they're like in development for like certain like robotics and stuff like that that'll like help clean your house, like by itself and stuff. And I think for the longer run, that's going to be a great, sector to get into. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie called I, Robot with Will Smith in it, but like that's kind of what this company is going for in the longer, aspect over the next like 50 years. So we'll just have to see like how that ends up playing out. But I think that like these robotics and stuff are obviously going to get a lot more integrated into society. And I think that they're going to do pretty well for the longer run. And I know they pay a pretty decent dividend as well, but I think it is getting to a pretty good area to maybe pick up some shares for the longer run, especially somewhere below 100 a share.
Alrighty, and then we have Corbin saying last thoughts on GLD. So I like it for like minimum like the next 6 months or so, probably even longer. It's really tough to trade, just in general. Gold is really volatile, and then plus with the FOMC, like if anything, I am bullish on it for like like I said, 6 months or like longer even. But for the short term, I'm just neutral.
Yeah, and GLD is going to definitely be affected by Powell, probably a lot more than like a lot of these other stocks will. So keep that in mind. Also, the GLD moves a lot with the dollar, with the federal rate decisions and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind that GLD is a commodity that moves, a lot with that type of news. So there's definitely going to be a lot of movement out of it, I think, later on.
All right, and then we have Muscle saying, I'm torn between Tesla, GM, and Ford. GM is investing $35 billion in EV. Ford has the Ford F-150 EV, which is the best-selling truck. And then Tesla has, and then question mark. So a lot of people would make the argument that Tesla has software. Like their software is like, a lot of people say you can't, like, it's second to none. So that's just, what a lot of people say. They say that Tesla is more of a software company than an electric vehicle car company, and that their AIs are extremely, extremely developed. So that's just an argument. I like the EV sector in general over like the next couple years. Like, I'm not like a diehard Tesla guy, but at the same time, I do like Tesla, but I would also definitely invest in GM, Ford, NIO, and a lot of other ones.
Yeah, and one big thing that I want to see like Ford and GM do that, Ford has kind of done it a little bit, but Tesla makes these like really fast, really cool electric cars. Like even like the cheapest Model 3 is like faster than like the electric Mustang. So like whenever you're like looking at some of these electric cars, like Tesla just makes like some really good ones, like not just like cool, like looking and cool on the inside, but like really high performance cars as well. And I think that that's going to appeal to a lot of the market too. But Ford and GM are definitely trying to get into that market a lot more. And, I think that for the longer run, Tesla is going to end up doing better. But in the shorter term, I think that like Ford and GM could kind of like move or keep moving at least off of this hype where they just keep coming out with new EV things. And keep in mind, Tesla is going to come out with a lot more stuff over the next few years that they're going to be announcing. So, they're definitely not done like innovating yet. So there's going to be a lot more stuff coming out. And, at just keep in mind, like the market, people always dominate headlines at certain times. So like in the oil sector, sometimes Chevron does a lot better than Exxon and Mobil, or vice versa. And it's kind of like that in the car industry. Like right now, Tesla is just not doing quite as well as Ford and GM on the news front, because Ford and GM are kind of just now getting into EVs and like kind of generating that hype and stealing some from Tesla. But keep in mind, Tesla will come out with some more batteries, or they'll be doing semi trucks and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot more things coming.
Alrighty. And then, Tom, what do you think of Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, I think, is pretty awesome, actually. It looks like it's trying to break up above that high. There's a pretty solid resistance up here around $340. I've been watching it a lot for the past few days and, just kind of like waiting for it to break out above that. I think we're going to have to see what happens later on today, though. But it will take a pretty big move to finally get above that. But it seems like we're just having a lot of problems at these all-time highs. But I think that we will eventually break this over the next few days.
All right, Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks or anything heading into today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like just watching a bunch of the indices, of course, with Powell speaking and the FOMC, of course, going on. Seems like the SPY is going down. Seems like the QQQ is popping up, which is awesome. So maybe tech is going to do good when Powell speaks, but maybe the banks and some of those like value stocks aren't going to do quite as well. I don't know, but we'll just have to see what ends up happening. I really like the tech stocks though, heading into it. Apple was breaking out earlier in the day. So hopefully they can kind of continue that. They have slowed down a little bit up here at the top, but it looks like they're going to keep trying to, break back to the upside at some point today. So really just like watching Apple and watching like the SPY and the QQQ. And of course, like VXX. VXX is going to move a lot to the upside if the market starts going down. So I'm just going to be watching all of those factors as we head into the market or into that FOMC meeting later on today.
All right, and we have Matt saying now have 25 of the 2023 contracts for the Ford 15 calls, selling calls for at least a year. I think that's a smart idea to get some premium with that. But thank you guys so much for joining the stream and asking great questions. We're definitely set for an interesting day, so stay tuned and have